getting out of your car is like...
Yeah, it's very dangerous.
Okay, we are live. Good morning, everyone.
Hi there, team peeps. Our loyal peeps.
Mark specializes in these and other complex tax questions for Metro Detroit businesses. Learn more at ShindelRock.com.
The Paul W. Smith Show, News Talk 760, WJR.
Good Thursday morning to you. It's the 11th of March, the 70th day of 2021. There are 295 days left in the year. Make each and every day count. Each day is a gift. The team is here in our Paul W. Smith Show Roundtable, our What's Happening Roundtable. Marie Osborne just finished the news. Thank you, Marie. The world is safe to come out of bed and to face it today, at least so far. Checking news, sports, weather, traffic. We have it all for you every morning and throughout the day on WJR. On top of that, traffic and weather, of course, first thing, Dana Clark is here and ready to go. Brian Morton pressing all the right buttons in the big WJR Control 1 in the Fisher Building. The rest of us in our regular homes, in our offices or whatever, doing like what many of you are doing, working from home, and we've done that for over a year now. Mike Kim checking in and helping out from the southernmost portion of Detroit, and our executive producer keeping an eye on things and running them by the clock, the grandfather clock, of course, Ann Thomas. Good morning.
Good morning, Dub. Happy Friday Eve.
Friday Eve, indeed, it is this Thursday, March 11th. So we're raring to go. Lots happening here. I have a number of things, but I want to see what you guys have on tap, bringing to this roundtable. I'll start with you, Riri. Anything in particular on your mind you want to make sure we get to?
You know what? I just ran across the most interesting story this morning about, how we're all on, we're all working from home. We're all doing Zoom calls, and a lot of our legal proceedings are taking place online and during Zoom. And there was an interesting case out of Sturgis, Michigan, where a woman was bringing charges against a boyfriend who had assaulted her. And during the hearing, the prosecutor said to the judge, I think that the defendant here is in the same home as the accuser, and I think he's intimidating her. She could tell by the way she was acting during the Zoom call. It was just very interesting, and maybe we can talk about it a little bit later, but the implications of that, and if it hadn't been for that prosecutor noting that,
she noticed that the woman kept looking off to the side while she was speaking, and she put two and two together. Oh, I saw it. Yeah, I saw it. And looking off to the side. I mean, this is about an assault. And the guy who assaulted her, who was supposed to not even be anywhere near her, was standing right over here. So the police actually came to the house and came in and found them both there. And then the guy was he was an idiot anyway. And he's sitting there with a cigarette. Well, Your Honor. And the judge says, get rid of that cigarette and you're going to jail right now. And it was wild. But thank goodness that prosecutor was paying such close attention.
Yeah, but I wonder the implications of that. I mean, how do we really know especially when something like this takes place, how do we really know what the situation is that you're looking at?
As the judge said, this would never have happened if we weren't all on stream or whatever they were, Zoom or StreamYard or whatever we have. Very good story, Marie. Dana, anything on your mind this morning?
What do we think about a vaccine passport?
Oh, that's a good one, Dana.
I think you're going to have something that proves it, because people are going to be asking for it. Then the other question tied into that would be, should the COVID vaccine be mandated once and for all? Because we've already discussed that businesses have the right to say, hey, we're bringing people back into our business, our building, our office, whatever it is. Most of them have been vaccinated, and we're going to say that if you're not vaccinated, don't come in. Businesses are saying that already now. So should it be mandated, and should there be a passport or some single piece of document that proves that you have been vaccinated. There's a lot ahead of us, that's for sure, including some business here at 543 on WJR.
This report is sponsored by Lions Clubs International.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed, support causes that matter, change lives, change communities, change the world. Visit lionsclubs.org to learn more.
And we have at our WJR Traffic and Weather first, and we have Dana Clark.
We have a closure this morning, Paul W., in Detroit and disabled vehicle. Traffic first, sponsored by North Bloomfield Properties. If you're looking for a place to call home, let North Bloomfield Properties find the best place for you and your family. They also provide pre-screened quality tenants to their property owners. They love to match good people to good homes. Contact them today, northbloomfield.com. Let's start with that collision. It's along Ford Street. It is closed between Green Street and Waterman. This is in Detroit. Multi-vehicle crash. Avoid the area. Disabled vehicle partially blocking the exit ramp along 94 eastbound at Woodward. Now, WJR Weather first from the Weather Channel, sponsored by Window World. Call Window World at 1-800-NEXT-WINDOW. For your window, door, or siding project, get 0% financing for 60 months. Window World is America's largest exterior replacement remodeler and a trusted team partner of WJR's Inside Outside Guys. Call 1-800-NEXT-WINDOW or visit windowworlddetroit.com.
Scattered showers and thunderstorms today. Windy and unseasonably mild. Gusty southwest winds, highs mid-60s. Clearing skies tonight, rather chilly all the way down into the mid-30s. Breezy, cooler tomorrow, mostly sunny, mid-upper 50s. From the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Ken Boone on News Talk 760 WJR.
Just went out and got the newspaper, and it's incredibly mild out. It's 60 degrees right now, but it's also incredibly windy. It was a very windy night last night. Your trash cans are going to be strewn about if you had them out and all kinds of other stuff. There'll be some higher gusts today, above 40 miles per hour in some areas. So be aware of that. But man, you can't help but feel the blast of mild temperature when you go out there first thing this morning, already 60 degrees. It is Thursday, March 11th, and we continue to feature some of the thoughts of the one and only late Rush Limbaugh.
My friends, the Washington Post has discovered how unfair life in America is right in their own backyard. Washington, D.C. is prospering. Population in the district has been growing by leaps and bounds. Some neighborhoods are becoming more affluent by the day. As affluent neighborhoods grow, so do the businesses that support them, like supermarkets. New markets and upscale neighborhoods are targeting foodies with all sorts of exotic items. But over the past 10 years, while supermarkets have multiplied in rich neighborhoods, poor Washington, D.C. neighborhoods have not fared as well. The Post reports that in the poorest neighborhoods, the number of supermarkets have plummeted. A long-standing grocery gap has grown worse. How bad is it? Well, in poor neighborhoods, there are 50,000 people for every grocery store. In the rich areas, there are 10,000 people per store. The rich have more grocery options than the poor. Rich people live in neighborhoods that cater to foodies. Poor people live with food insecurities. Supermarkets in poor neighborhoods have another disadvantage. They've got to make 30% more profit than the rich competitors to offset the cost of shoplifting, security, and high staff turnover. Oh, yeah, that might explain why poor neighborhoods have fewer stores, but that's beside the point. You have to stick to the narrative, which is life in America is unfair because the rich have stolen everything the poor had.
Rush Limbaugh, noon to 3 today, right here on WJR.
This year marks 20 years since America's darkest day, 9/11. It also marks the start of the tunnel.
Annie Banani.
Yes, sir.
Anything on your mind?
I'm like that little bird reporting on coronavirus cases. Did you see that yesterday there were 2,682 new cases here in Michigan?
Really? Oh, boy.
Twice as many as the day before.
Oh, no.
The death rate, though, is still very
Way
low.
down.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
way low.
But
They said that last year was the deadliest year in America, which wasn't a surprise, but it might be a surprise to people that COVID was the third leading cause of death last year, behind the same old two that are always there, cancer and heart disease.
well, the good thing about The good thing about COVID now is if you are hospitalized, they have figured out how to help you a
Yeah.
lot better and a lot more than when it first came out. So
Right.
that's probably why the death rate has gone down, because of the treatments and the way they're handling the cases.
Way less likely to die, which
Mhm.
obviously is the right thing. In fact, that's what they're talking about with these 3 different vaccines. All 3 of them, whatever their percentage of efficacy is, all 3 of them have shown to cut the death rate almost entirely out if you've had the vaccine,
Mhm.
and the hospitalization rate.
Way down. Yeah.
From,
So
with
I
that
would
thought
say
in mind,
get what you can.
with that thought in mind, a gentleman who died on this day in 1955, Sir Alexander Fleming. He died in London in 1955 at the age of 73. Do you know why he was important to all of us?
Mm-mm.
007.
That's a good one.
Is this
That's a very similar name, yeah. But Sir Alexander Fleming was the discoverer.
Okay.
Sir Alexander Fleming was the discoverer of penicillin.
Mhm.
Oh, it's a big deal.
Big deal. Died a long time ago, 1955, at the age of 73. But someone else has just died who has affected, I'm going to say, all of our lives for sure, but especially Marie's and Anne's, and maybe Dana, I'm not so certain, but certainly mine as well. And he just died, Lou Ottens. He just died at the age of 94. And what do you think he invented that affected all of us? And the clue is especially Marie and Anne.
Heavens. I have no idea.
Got to
Me
be
either.
something.
Lou Ottens, who just died at 94, invented the cassette tape. And you two reporters,
Right.
back in the day, the prehistoric days of radio, you all had cassettes that you went out and did your reporting on.
Well, and I have boxes of cassettes.
Yeah.
I do too. Now, I don't know, Dana, if you ever used a cassette player or cassettes doing what you were
Yes.
doing.
Not for work.
No.
Beats
I had
and Blarney. Paul W. Smith's 2021
For music.
Music, yeah, that was a bad. It wasn't a great source for music.
No.
It was wobbly.
You're hearing the Paul W. Smith Show. News Talk 760 WJR.
Just mentioning that Lou Ottens has died at the age of 94, and nobody knows who he was. I certainly didn't, but it turns out that he was the guy who, a Dutch engineer, credited with inventing the audio cassette tape. And an estimated 100 billion cassette tapes have been sold around the world since they were introduced in the 1960s. Now, they were big in radio because our reporters went around with little cassette tape players and did their interviews and brought them back to the radio station and then dubbed them onto other tapes that looked like 8-track tapes. From those cassette tapes came all the other tapes, and then all the other sadly far better technology that's used in radio today. When was the last time any of you touched any tape?
Long time.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist. At WJR, because we've been around nearly 100 years, we still have tape players around. We just don't use them.
And we have a lot of tapes.
Right.
Boy, do we have a lot of tapes.
We have a lot of tapes, and it's too bad that in radio they haven't been a little more serious about cataloging and archiving, because there's some great. Can you imagine on a radio station like WJR in nearly 100 years of existence, the tapes we could find where people of great note in our world have been interviewed? It'd be just, but there's no, I guess there's no money in it right now to have somebody devote the years
Take a job, right?
it would take to duplicate all of that. Remember, we used to have a record library, and Gene Elsey was the record librarian. I remember it so clearly.
I do too, Paul.
I mean, long before he came back to do the morning show. Remember, he'd sit there at a desk,
Yeah.
and you'd say, "I'm looking for a little something for a story on such and such," and he'd go, "I think I have just the record," and he would go back and
And there was a pony door, it was a half door, and you'd walk up there and you would say, for me, when I was producing like the series or, special programming and news, and you'd say, okay, I'm looking for this, specifically, I'm looking for Neil Diamond and I'm looking for, Frank Sinatra. And he'd come back, he'd have his list, he'd have all your albums, but you don't cross that door.
Right.
Nobody's going in there.
No.
Because they're going to mess things up.
So you had to go. It was great. It was
Gene Elsey, God bless him. Yeah, there's a lot of history, a lot of great memories at this radio station. That's for sure. Unlike a lot of radio stations that are just newer, that have been around less time. Hence the 3 call letters, WJR. The oldest stations in the country only had 3 call letters until they started adding more stations and adding more letters. I predicted it yesterday. We got lucky. We hit 70.
Yeah.
Oh, you were right.
The forecasters didn't say we were going to hit 70. I said the way it grew 10 degrees while we were on the air. It went 10 degrees. And I thought that's going up fast. So, and did you know that we tied a record that has been standing for nearly 100 years?
Oh.
The last time on that date, yesterday's date, March 10th, 1925.
Wow.
1925 was the last time we hit 70 on that date, so we tied it. So that's certainly good news. There's other stuff that's out there. I think there are going to be arguments that are passionate, some that will make sense, some that will just be emotional, but that story is coming back out again. And there's that Senate Bill 218 that says basically if you're born a boy, you play on boys' teams in school. If you're born a girl, you play on girls' teams in school. And, people are angry. People are supportive and people are angry. The ones that are angry says, hey, this is targeting transgender student athletes who have a rough time in life as it is. And then there are parents of, let's say, girls in this case, that the girls have worked very hard in their sport and want to do very well in it. And some of them are looking for scholarships to college. And all of a sudden, a guy who identifies as a woman or has become a woman is out there competing in the sport. And from a physical standpoint, there's a reason that we have boys sports and girls sports. And all of a sudden that line is blurred. So I can see that being, something that's going to be continuously argued. Anyone have a thought or opinion on that?
Is this federal legislation, Paul?
This one,
federal level or
I
state?
think the Senate Bill 218 is a state legislation, I believe. Just getting bits and pieces of it late last night.
South Dakota just, the Senate there passed the transgender athlete bill. And it's also worth noting that there is no transgender student trying to play that is playing on a team in South Dakota.
They haven't had a situation yet, and I guess they're doing it in advance of any of the problems. I don't know. I mean, it's really something that's being talked about. This is not a pressing problem at this point. I don't, like you say, Marie, there aren't a bunch of transgender people fighting to get on one team or another at this point, but it's being discussed. Maybe it's just a fear that's unfounded, or maybe it's very much founded. It is 5:57 at WJR.
This report is sponsored by Lions Clubs International.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed, support causes that matter, change lives, change communities, change the world. Visit lionsclubs.org to learn more.
WJR Traffic and Weather first, and Dana Clark.
Traffic First, sponsored by Clarkston Window and Door. Over 31 years in business, over 450 combined years of experience installing windows. Trust a specialist at Clarkston Window and Door. Act now to take advantage of 31% off installed windows, doors, and garage doors. 248-338-6781 or clarkstonwindow.com. 4th Street in Detroit is closed between Green Street and Waterman, shut down there due to a crash. Disabled vehicle 94 eastbound at Woodward, blocking the right side of that exit ramp. Now, WJR Weather First from the Weather Channel, sponsored by Shelving.com. Shelving.com can help you save money and prevent workplace accidents with its free 10-point warehouse safety inspection. They offer in-person and virtual options. Schedule your free inspection today on Shelving.com. Shelving.com. We rack your world. Starting off very mild out there, partly cloudy, 61 degrees. We do have a chance of rain, especially after about 10 a.m. Most of the rain is going to be in the afternoon. It's also going to be windy, so keep that in mind. Today, our high hitting 63 degrees. Tonight, a few passing clouds, slight chance of rain. Overnight low 35. Sunshine and some clouds on Friday, still mild, a high of 57. I'm Dana Clark, WJR News with Marie Osborne in about 2 minutes.
Well, a lot of great comments from our Paul's peeps. And Terry Whitman Twellman still uses cassettes. She teaches 1st grade, and I use cassette tapes every week. I have a lot of books on tape that I use in a reading center. Interesting. Jane is rougher on the meteorologists than the rest of us. She says, see, they lie. Meteorologists lie. I don't think they lie. I just think that it's a hard science and art. Don't know what's really going to happen for sure. Nicole says, I share the going with genetics sentiment when it comes to fairness in sports. Lori. I'm not sure if I got that name right or not, but you can't, Jane Tarbett says, you can't change your DNA. Male sports. Female sports. This whole thing is ridiculous. And if my daughters had to deal with that, you bet I'd have been screaming as loud as I could. I don't blame Jane for that at all. Jennifer says, why do you not hear about a woman wanting to play on a man's team? Is it not common, or do we just not hear about it? Actually, we used to hear about that when it wasn't a question of transgender or anything. We used to hear about young girls who wanted to play and then ended up playing. They were the kicker or they were the quarterback or something on a boys' football team. We've actually been hearing stories like that for years, but it wasn't somebody who was biologically born male, meaning having the male parts, deciding they were a woman and then going out and trying to play on those teams. It's going to be, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how people watch it. I know we'll keep an eye on it. We'll see what's happening. And if it really matters in the end, it matters to some, obviously. Bill Sinkule, how many cassettes do you want? I have thousands.
Yeah. Did you see this story overnight about the suspected drunk driver crashing into the Detroit police SUV?
No.
That's a bad stroke of luck right there.
That is not good.
Well, thankfully, the police officers are okay. But, the drunk driver's got himself or herself in a world of trouble this morning. Of all things you would crash into.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the one thing you don't want to crash into anything. But,
right. But
if you're going to crash into something, may it not be a police car.
Yes.
That's not good.
Yeah.
So they got arrested and they're
yes, the suspected drunk driver is in custody at this hour.
That'll become one of those commercials with the insurance company that's seen it all. You know those commercials with the guy from the Detroit area, great actor, Liberty. I think it's Liberty Mutual. I'm not sure. And they have all these weird things that have happened. Yeah, we've seen it. We've covered it.
Oh, yeah. What's his name?
What is his name? He was in that drummer movie that was so good. Maybe one of our peeps will come up with that and let us know.
J.K. Simmons?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Oh,
J.K. Simmons. And it's Farmers Insurance. Thank you, Don Kruger. Farmers Insurance, not Liberty. All the insurance companies, well, not all of them, but some of them are coming up with some pretty clever.
They are clever.
State Farm's Jake is a very winning combination.
Yes. And the guy who used to get hurt all the time, remember?
Oh, the guy that was like trouble. He was. He was Mayhem.
Yeah, Mayhem.
I'm Mayhem, but I can't remember with the insurance company.
Me either. That's not good.
That's the sign of a good commercial is you remember the commercial, but you have to remember what they're advertising.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to really earn their keep. Today is Popcorn Lovers Day.
Oh, that's a day for you.
I love popcorn.
I do
keep
too.
talking about getting an old-fashioned popper, but I haven't done it.
That's a good snack.
It's so good.
Well, it is if you don't put a lot of butter on it, but I would put a lot of butter on it.
Butter is okay. No carbs.
Butter? No carbs?
Yes.
Okay.
No carbs.
Maybe I'll order
Good,
that.
good. I mean, it's fat, but it's no carbs. But if you're doing the low carb diet, butter is your friend.
March 11th, today is National Eat Your Noodles Day.
Carbs.
There's the carb.
If you're lacking carbs after your popcorn, you get them in spades here with
right.
noodles. You get plenty of them. Dry noodles are considered a form of unleavened bread. In China, archaeologists discovered the world's oldest bowl of noodles, thought to be over 4,000 years old, and it was still hot. They were made of millet flour. Instant noodles were invented in 1958. They are flash fried, then quickly dried. This made for, speaking of long shelf lives, a long shelf life. If they're kept dry, some say they'll remain edible for decades.
Like Twinkies.
Like Twinkies. Over 40% of the flour in Asia is used to make noodles, feeding over half the world's population. Thomas Jefferson brought the first macaroni noodles to America in 1789 after returning from a trip in France. You know, you go to China, as we did a number of times in the past for the Beijing Auto Show, and the other one, we had two of them that alternated. And you go into an appliance.
I think it was Shanghai
and Beijing. You go into an appliance store, and you become very aware of how big and important rice is in their diet, because they have so many different rice makers that are a part of your average kitchen in China. And yet we still kind of shy away from rice like it's not that good for us.
Yes.
And yet there's a billion people there that are using rice and eating it, and
every meal.
Every meal.
And it's like
part of their diet.
I don't know. We were trying to figure that out last night, the rice and pasta.
Yeah.
So it seems like some people can eat it, and they
are so much smaller. Their portions are so much smaller.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
In Italy, a bowl of pasta is this much.
Yeah.
That's what you get for pasta.
So it's portions.
I remember Adam. I have a picture of Adam somewhere. I'll never find it quickly to show you, but we were in Italy and they brought out a bowl of pasta that was huge, and we were sitting outside, and it was like a little alleyway, but it wasn't an alley, but people were walking through, and some people stopped to watch the little American kid eat all that pasta. They would stand there and they go, "Wow!" He was just
put it away, huh?
And he finished it. Adam's always been a good eater. Jamie too. The boys eat. Well, you guys know about boys; they eat,
yes,
and eat, and eat,
and don't gain.
But don't gain 1 pound.
Oh.
They might even lose weight.
Yeah, but skinny. Yeah, I try to tell them that changes. When you get a little older, that changes. Bear that in mind.
Paul W. Smith Show, News Talk 760, WJR.
Good Thursday morning to you. It is the 11th day of March, the 70th day of 2021. There are 295 days left in the year. Make each and every day count. Each day is a gift. The team is here. Marie Osborne checking the news, and if she comes back, it's always a good sign. One of these mornings, if she doesn't come back to the roundtable, we'll all know to get up and run. Meanwhile, Dana Clark, Traffic and Weather, back in WJR Control 1, Brian Morton running all the controls, currently from the Fisher Building. Of course, my sweet Kim helping out behind the scenes, feeding me some information and controlling it all and overseeing it and nurturing it like a mother hen, our executive producer, Ann Thomas. Good morning, Ann.
Good morning, Deb. Happy Friday Eve.
Is it okay to say mother hen now? I don't know. It might be one of those expressions that isn't okay, but I mean it only in a loving, wonderful way.
I'm a big time mother hen. I'll take it.
Good. I thought you were. There is something we're going to have to discuss, and it's come up every year. And Dick Hafner really loved talking about it. And I think we really need to put our pedal to the metal and fix this. This weekend, we're going to change our clocks again. And I believe that we should do whatever we can do to change our clocks. It's spring ahead, fall backwards. Spring ahead, fall backwards. I believe it's the spring ahead that people like the most. I believe we should spring ahead this weekend and spend as much time as we need to over the next few months to keep it that way.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to change back and forth. In fact, there's plenty of reason in terms of car accidents, heart attacks, and other problems that indicate we shouldn't be going back and forth and back and forth. I can't even remember. I mean, I can, but I can't even remember why we did it in the first place and why we think it's a good idea when, in fact, by springing forward this weekend and keeping it that way, will just work out better. What do you guys think?
Totally agree. And as I said before, why can't we just do it? We just do it. We don't need to have a discussion and a vote, and it just some things you should be able to just do.
Couldn't
it.
the governor just say, okay, well, you know what? We're just going to stay with this. I mean, can't she just make that proclamation?
I think that the problem with staying on daylight savings time, is that in the fall, I'd have to really think this through. I can't remember. Then the darkness would be, we'd have very, very dark mornings.
Oh,
and you've got kids going to school and all that. I think that's the issue.
I think it is too.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, that's the issue. And wasn't it the tourism lobby that had really pushed for this back in the 70s?
Might have been. I think that we've had an agricultural element to this. We've had a school element to this. We've had a tourism element to this. I'm just saying, pick one.
Right.
Pick one and stick with it.
Right.
Because it changes everything. What time is it right now in Europe? Well, it's 6 hours. No, now it's 5 hours. No, I mean, come on, just pick one and stick with it. That's all. And I don't know.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say my husband's family, there's a group, his sister lives in southern Indiana, where there's just one town on the border with Kentucky that does not change its time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she lives right by this town. So when we would visit, I would say, well, I want to go into this town. And she'd say, oh, Marie, remember, they're on slow time.
Slow time.
Slow time. There was slow time and fast time. You'd go to a farmer, like if you were buying, this is out in the country, you'd be buying something at the farm stand and, they'd say, oh, are you on fast time or slow time?
There's Mark Gardner, one of our listeners who also watches us these first 45 minutes, at least for the time being, is saying there's a bill pending right now in Michigan. So it may be, Mark, I hate to tell you this bill could have been pending for years for all I know.
There's actually a new bill in Congress that just came out. It's called the Sunshine Protection Act of 2021. And are you sitting down? It's a bipartisan bill.
Oh,
woohoo! Bipartisan bill. And it would apply to states who participate in daylight savings time by negating standard time. So
you would stick with daylight savings time. That would be the time.
Exactly.
I think that's the one that Dick used to like the most.
Yes. And what you're saying, Paul, is according to this bill, there are many benefits to sticking and staying with daylight savings time.
There's no question there are benefits of having one time. If it's daylight savings time, that's great.
Reduces car crashes.
Yep.
So that's one thing.
Heart attacks, car crashes.
And the heart attack issue.
It's huge. It's like ridiculous that we do it.
It's supposed to help with the depression issue.
Yes, of course.
And if you're still really depressed, one of our listeners, David, says Olive Garden used to have the never-ending bowl of pasta. And so maybe they still do, since he's referring back to our pasta circumstance. And in Italy, as Maria's saying, the portions are smaller.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, in Italy, they're drinking wine with that pasta. And I do believe that's key to a healthier meal and healthier way the body handles taking in that pasta.
And they're walking a lot.
And they're walking everywhere because they
Yeah.
can't drive everywhere, so they walk everywhere, which was that was the one good thing when I lived in New York City. I walked everywhere. I was in much better shape. All right, 6:13. We've got to get to work here, and so let's take care of a little business here.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International. For kids in poverty around the world, things are still desperate. Join Compassion International with your one-time $40 gift to provide a COVID relief kit to a family in poverty. Text the word GIVE to 83393. That's GIVE to 83393.
I want to be happy for people when they do well, but there ought to be a law. Here's a guy who wins $1 million in the lottery jackpot just 7 months after he won part of a $4 million prize.
Do that.
I've been waiting all my life.
Me too.
Let's take care of that business. Our WJR Traffic and Weather first, Miss Dana Clark.
That disabled vehicle, Paul W., is clear from 94 eastbound at Woodward. That accident still has Ford Street closed between Green Street and Waterman Street. Please avoid the area. Now, WJR Weather first from the Weather Channel.
Scattered showers and thunderstorms for us here today. Windy and unseasonably mild, gusty southwest winds at times up over 30 miles per hour. Highs today, mid-60s. Clearing skies tonight, mid-30s. Sunshine tomorrow, windy and cooler, middle to upper 50s. From the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Ken Boone on News Talk 760 WJR.
All righty, we're looking at 60 degrees, and that's the best it's been in a while at this